Thank you so much for reading Killer Tech and the Drive to Save Humanity. You know, writing a book is an incredibly personal thing. When I finally released the book and actually took the plunge to actually go, I'm done. It's time now to move forward and to share the work and to have people actually read it and be able to criticize it and be able to get involved with the message and do stuff with the message. It was a huge day. It was literally one of the most scary days of all because that's putting a whole bunch of actions in motion as soon as you actually go release the book. So, how did you guys like chapter one? Because chapter one was an incredibly difficult chapter to start because it's how do you start this whole adventure in technology and also at the same time not be too preachy and try to get people involved enough that they would want to be involved with helping not just themselves but their family, not just their family but their local communities. And I thought it was really important that when I wrote the book that I also made sure I really could take the advice in the book and do something with it. Because how many books have you read and you can't do anything with the advice? You're kind of stuck. Like, what am I going to do about these problems? So how do you guys feel about being genned up? I mean, I know that I'm genned up. I'm genned up usually because the feeds that I'm actually exploring or the YouTube video feed or Rumble feed or whatever I'm actually going into takes me down a rabbit hole. And that usually gets me angry and I get upset until I actually yank myself out of the rabbit hole. And one of the things I've been doing lately, which is interesting, is I've been using something called ground news. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, and this is not an advertisement for ground news, but check it out. Ground news actually tells you which party and which bias are you looking at in any given article. So if you have an article from NBC and an article from CBS and an article from Fox, it will show you the bias, the reporter's bias, and kind of how that particular institution is leaning. And it allows you to at least choose in that media goulash of articles, something that you would be able to see more or less the different biases and the different slants on the same information. It's actually quite fascinating. And I think you guys will enjoy that. I do. So ground news is an interesting resource. But beyond just ground news and those type of new outlets, in order to avoid being genned up, you really have to appreciate that concepts that are brought up in the book, and one of them is truth decay, is the reason why we're so genned up. Because if we don't believe in our government and if we don't believe in our institutions, then everything seems more like a conspiracy, more like it's dramatic. Because when you lose a voice, you don't feel you have a voice. It makes everything more dramatic, doesn't it? And I personally think what we're going to have to do moving everyone's forward into a new future is people are going to have to appreciate they are important enough to have a voice. This idea that, people don't vote or the silent majority, I think that needs to be extinguished. We can't lay flat any longer, not do anything about our present situations. And if you're young, especially, you got to rise up. You've got to rise out of bed, literally, leave your room, leave your computer, leave your technology, and get into the workplace. Go to the places that we are actually making decisions in, like your local schools, your local municipalities, the local school boards, and just get involved and do stuff. Because if you start speaking to people, you might actually have all of your facts wrong. You might discover that other people's facts are actually more compelling than your own. But this is the most important thing. If you don't engage, you won't get new facts. And if you don't engage, you won't enlighten people to your facts. So ultimately, the town square can't work if all of us are on our devices in our own censored little cubbyholes. So I hope as we do this series and this book, and as you learn about this technology, what you're going to realize is the videos and the book and everything that I'm trying to do is to give us the freedom, all of us, to actually be empowered to do our lives in a more humane and better way. Because the technological route to run our life, the way that Meta and other companies want us to run our life, is really dehumanizing. And more importantly, Once you're dehumanized, then who are you? I mean, at some level, once we have sucked all the humanity out of a human being, we've just made him be as good as high score in his computer game or the social score from him putting the correct amount of posts and the correct things in the post that don't piss off the censors so that they can actually censor him into the society's norm. Think about that. Censored into the society's norm. Yeah, that's where we're at. You see, you're being censored to norm your behavior. That, guys, is truly George Orwell's 1984, and it's happening in 2023, right now. We have so far done very little to actually change that narrative. But I will say this, if you've been paying attention, in 2023 is the year that this book has come out. We've admitted we're genned up. We've admitted that we actually create our own biases. And we also have admitted that if we're not paying for the product, we are the product. This is the year where I'm starting to see people wake up. And that's why I'm doing this video series to augment the book, to augment your resolve to change the way our relationship is with technology. Thank you.